It's Wednesday, that means it's DeFi Roundup Wednesday. Let's take a look at some charts, starting off with Bitcoin dominance, which seems to be retracing from its surging mean reversion value. It's been all over the place over the past few months. You can see alts are really strong going into Q4, starting in Q4. Bitcoin extremely strong. Bitcoin is now just holding steady for the moment at all-time highs or near all-time highs, and that's giving alts a chance to take a bite out of that apple. Some of the Bitcoin profits are rotating into alts. This is nothing more than that. This is not a fundamental paradigm shifting anything, okay, people? This is Bitcoin profits rotating into altcoins. This is people who missed the Bitcoin boat buying alts with an integer bias, thinking I can buy 20,000 XRP versus 0.1 BTC. It's really nothing more than that. And I wouldn't look past that, because as quickly as this rally has started, it will diminish into nothing. And unfortunately for DeFi, it's really been untouched, unscathed, just ignored basically. It's been mainly the older coins that have seen a big pop up recently. First it was DeFi, then it was Bitcoin, now it's everything else. Looking at the DeFi perp index on FTX, the 6 hour, we had a falling wedge, rising wedge. We're still bear divving. All of this is a massive bearish divergence, ignoring volume, because volume is clearly something different than what it was in this falling wedge. It looks like there's a new market maker, there's a new player in town, there's somebody who's trading here in a big way who wasn't before. But nevertheless, RSI is still declining on rising prices. That's never bullish. So that is our barometer. Bitcoin divergence has mean reverted to the 200, and DeFi index, one of them anyway, is massively still bear divving. Arguably, you can say, all right, it's back at the 50 RSI, this bear div has reset, but I still don't like higher prices on less RSI, less momentum. Looking at Link, it's just exactly where it should be based on the pitchfork. Pitchfork is a rate of change expectation. The yellow line is where you expect price to be, and it gives a time expectation, a time component. It expects this price at this time point, expects this price at this time point, it expects this price in March, middle of March, okay? That's the expectation. So long as this pitchfork is alive, price will oscillate, perambulate all over the place, but it'll want to return to that yellow line. And over the past 2 months, it has hugged that line very closely. Currently still above the R5 yearly pivot. The yearly pivots leading into next year will look extremely interesting. They will explode. They will get super wide, as is the case anytime you have extreme volatility in the previous year. You can see the previous year, 2019, we had certainly an upsurgence, but it kind of like collapsed in on itself. Whereas this year, starting in 2019, it's just been straight up. So these yearly pivots will expand next year. Something to watch for. We're also still above the 200-day moving average, so unless we're below the 200, below the pitchfork, there's really no reason to be bearish blanketly on Link. Just looking at technicals. Looking at AAVE, USDT 1 hour Binance. I tried to put super simple snap judgment, no conversation trend metrics on here so that anybody can look at this and say, all right, it's below the cloud, it's bearish, right? Bullish above, bearish below. It's clearly been bearish for the past few days here. You can move up and down the time frames. I just like how it looks the best on the hourly. It's below all of this VPVR. So now it's going to have to contend with this volume profile on the way up. Really very little support relative to resistance here. So path of least resistance is down. And I like 50, I like 40, I like 20, I like stuff down here. I like 50 because it's psychological support. But trend-wise, it definitely doesn't look bullish. If you look at UniUSD, a lot of charts right now look just like this, where they made a higher high, they bear dived, they're just sideways, trendless. Nothing really too exciting about them. Plenty of volume stuff in this area for Uni, but there isn't clearly, tons of support just below us, tons of resistance just above us, just kind of sideways, waiting for something to happen, waiting for a catalyst. SNX, I still like this target of 10 to 12. I still like this falling wedge playing out. It's bullish on the 5200 on the daily still. So all this still looks okay. There is a bear div on this with the higher high on price, lower high in momentum. So I don't know what the trade is here, because it looks like this is going to go sideways and or just relax for a little while. But if you're in it for the 2x from here, which is certainly reasonable. It's a decent setup. Looking at UMA, here's another example, just like Uni, just kind of sideways, no trend, turtle soup, all over the place, nothing really going on inside of its VPVR profile. It's above the 200, but there's really, this isn't a trade for me. Looking at YFI USD, on the 4 hour, it is dipping inside of the cloud, which means trend reversal or a trend reversal attempt probably to 19. This is an edge-to-edge setup if I've ever seen one. So from 23.24 to 19.18.5, whatever this is. You can see it's just below this volume profile, and it's very unlikely that we breach 13.14 anytime soon. So I do like it. I do like the trade setup short from 23 to 18.19. I don't think there's a long in here just yet. What you would want to watch for the long side is a similar situation to early November. Just a break above the cloud, bullish TK recross, something like that. It will be obvious. You won't have to guess, is this, should I long this or not? Just watch the cloud, watch the trend metrics, and it's usually not wrong. Speaking of not wrong, comp 6 hour cloud. You can see this had a breakout maybe last week. I don't know what I said last week about it, but I've been watching this kind of on the 4 hour and the 6 hour, and it did break out. It's above volume profile resistance and continues to climb that ladder. So I don't know where this party stops. And again, it's kind of just like sideways up, bear divving, just mega volatile, much like Uni and MTA and whatever else I'm going to look at here. So it's hard to say where this goes because it's bear divving, right? Like this looked like a long down here. I don't know so much anymore. Ren, same story, loose bear div here, higher highs in price, equal RSI. It's above the VPVR resistance, and trend-wise on cloud it looks fine, on the 200 it looks fine. Had a nice Adam and Eve here. That broke up. It's through the cloud. I don't really know how much more upside this has in it, considering all-time highs around 50 cents. So I think if DeFi as a group moves, this will easily break all-time highs. If DeFi as a group just remains flat sideways, I think this is going to struggle to break 50 cents. Looking at Serum again, much like many of these charts, it's just sort of sideways up bear div the entire time. It is bullish on the 4 hour for the first time ever. It is trying to work its way through all this volume resistance. So I like 175 from here if it moves up. I'm just not super confident that it will do so. Another thing you can watch for is this ascending head and shoulders that's loosely there. Shoulder, head, shoulder. I don't know. I don't see a trade there. I wouldn't be comfortable longing that myself. Something like this, however, band USDT, been talking about this for a couple of weeks on the 12 hour. This actually looks pretty good, and you're seeing a bullish 5200 cross coming on the 12 hour here at resistance, horizontal resistance for that head and shoulders. So maybe this has one more pullback left, maybe it doesn't, but I still like this for the long side up to around 1050, 1080, something like that. Dot USDT, another one of these that I was talking about last week that looked like this cup and handle situation where it's just this curvature to it. I don't know when the pullback will be, if this was it. I don't think so. Typically you see the complete cup form and then you get 50% or less pullback and then it breaks the highs. So I'd still watch for this. I'd still watch for resistance at all-time high area. And I would watch for support at whatever the local high ends up being. It probably won't be more than the all-time high. It'll either hit resistance at all-time high or it'll hit resistance right now and go to like 460, something like that, and then make this ugly cup and handle. But it's a super interesting formation. It's like the early sellers came in, now buying demand's taking over, and then more early sellers, early buyers are going to sell. And when eventually the buyers overtake the sellers, which is likely just because it's listed in a lot of places, you'll see a break the previous all-time high. Kava, I like the edge-to-edge setup. This is the daily, so it's super high signal to noise ratio. The signal should be taken seriously. I like that the TK cross is about to occur on the bullish side, so that says close your shorts, get ready for longs, and the edge-to-edge setup is from around $2 to 337, which is a decent little trade there. If you can pick that up at leverage or something, I don't know. Descending volume profile here on rising prices, so arguably bearish divergence, but I still think the edge-to-edge setup looks good there. Sushi, again, like DOT, has this curvature quality to it. On cloud on the 2 hour, it's printing a bearish Kumo breakout, which says expect reversal to the downside here. I do like a potential head and shoulders as well. You're seeing this declining volume profile that kind of meets that. So if we put in a equal high to the previous high at this VPVR resistance, then the head and shoulders will look really good. And I'd expect prices around 50, 60 cents, whatever the volume profile is, 65 cents, something like that. But this does not look bullish at all right now. Wing USD on the 4 hour, same story, just bearish below the cloud. It's got plenty of VPVR support on the way down, but this is definitely not long. On the long side, I'd wait for bullish Kumo breakout, prices above cloud, that sort of thing. BZRX, a really good example of this curvature quality. Again, the question is always, where's the handle? When's the handle? Is this the handle? That sort of thing. If you think this is the cup, you can sort of front run it saying, all right, that's the cup. The handle should be around 22 cents, 25 cents. It'll definitely dip in the cloud here. I don't think there's a doubt in my mind that it's going to just keep dipping into the cloud. And then the trade setup starts to happen because it's either going to bounce at the cloud and re-break to the bullish side. In that case, you won't even need to worry about watching for that cup and handle. But if it doesn't, you'll get this bearish Kumo breakout below the cloud, and it'll just retest the VPVR support down here. So overall, that's a wait and see as well for me. Kind of the general theme of this week. MTA still looks better than it probably ever has. You can see it had a bear trend, retest, attempt at bullishness, bear trend, and now it's trending upwards, kind of above this mini VPVR resistance nodes. So there's a decent shot this has continuation to the upside just based on the trend. Again, much like Ren, if DeFi has a moment again, I think MTA will be a very decent trade to the upside just based on where it's sitting trend-wise. And lastly, looking at BNT, Bancor, on the daily chart here, similar to Kava, it's setting itself up for a edge-to-edge trade to around $1.80 and or a head and shoulders situation. So altogether, DeFi kind of has a few buckets. It's either sideways up, bear div situation, inverted head and shoulders situation, head and shoulders situation, edge-to-edge situation, or cup and handle situation. But most of them are pretty obvious, at least on trend. So if I was trading this, okay, I wouldn't be trying to buy any knives on counter trend trading. I would just be waiting for the obvious bull trends because there's so many possibilities you could trade here. Why pick a poor quality chart when you have so many options, right? You're at the buffet, you're looking at the soup, you're looking at the salad, and then something else that looks better than both of those, right? You're probably not going to pick the soup or salad. You're probably going to go for something that just came out of the kitchen, okay? You're going to go for those fresh fried shrimp or whatever the hell you eat at a buffet these days anymore, if those even exist.